6th December, Saint Nicholas, Bishop, Optional Memoria. He was Bishop of Myra in Lycia, now in Turkey, where he died about the middle of the 4th century. He is honored throughout the Church, especially from the 10th century. A reading from St. Augustine's treatises on St. John. May the power of love overcome the repugnance for death. Although he knows the answer, the Lord first asks Peter, and not once, but a second and third time, if he loves him. 3 times Peter affirms his love. 3 times the Lord charges Peter to be shepherd of his flock. There is a threefold avowal of love to compensate for the threefold denial. This is because the tongue must serve love no less than it served fear. The threat of death must not seem to have provoked more of a response than the presence of life. Just as the denial of the shepherd gave proof of fear, so feeding the Lord's flock is the service of love. Those who feed Christ's sheep with the intention of appropriating them for themselves, not for Christ, show that they are guilty of loving themselves, not Christ. This oft-repeated word of Christ is a warning against such ones who, as the Apostle says with sorrow, look after their own interests, not those of Jesus Christ. What does "do you love me, feed my sheep" mean? Except, if you love me, think about feeding my sheep, not yourself. Feed them as my sheep, not yours. Seek my glory in them, not your own. My role, not yours. My gain, not your own. Do not join the company of those who belong to these times of stress, who are lovers of themselves and of whatever else is bound up with this source of evil. Let those who feed the sheep of Christ love him, not themselves. Let them feed the sheep as his, not as their own. Those who feed the sheep of Christ must above all be on their guard against this vice of self-love, lest they look after their own interests, not those of Jesus Christ, and put to the service of their own greed those for whom Christ shed his blood. The love of Christ in him who feeds his sheep must increase to such an intensity that it overcomes the natural fear of death, which makes us unwilling to die even while we desire to live with Christ. However great the repugnance for death, it must be conquered by the power of our love for him who, though he is our life, still willed to undergo death for our sakes. If death troubled us only a little or not at all, the glory of the martyrs would not be so great. But the Good Shepherd, who laid down his life for his sheep, has made many martyrs for himself from among his sheep. Surely then the shepherds, those to whom he committed his sheep to be fed, that is, to be taught and guided, ought themselves to fight to the death for the truth, and struggle against sin, even to the point of shedding their blood. Hence, with the example of his passion before us, it is obvious that since so many of the sheep have imitated the shepherd, all the more ought the shepherds themselves imitate him. Are not the shepherds themselves sheep in the one flock under the one shepherd? He who died for all, made of all his sheep, because he himself became a sheep, so that he might suffer for all.